Y estamos muy emocionados, estamos muy contentos de tenerles a todos acá.
We are so excited and happy to have you all here together today.
Dios es bueno en gran manera.
God is good in a very big way.
Y hoy celebramos su fidelidad, celebramos que Él nos ama y celebramos que a lo largo de todos estos años ha estado con nosotros.
And today we celebrate His faithfulness and we celebrate how faithful He has been for such a long time for us.
Y el que estemos hoy aquí es una muestra más de su fidelidad y su compañía y su compasión también con nosotros.
And the fact that we are all together in the room is an example of God's faithfulness and His love for us and His compassion toward us.
Y es por su gracia que hoy podemos, después de tantos años, después de tantos sueños, encontrarnos esta tarde acá.
And it is totally through the grace of God, after so much work and so many years, that we can all be together in this space today.
Si es que quisiera pedirles a todos que nos pongamos de pie.
So I'd like to ask you all to stand up.
Para que juntos entremos a la presencia de Dios y podamos orar y darle gracias a Él por todo lo que ha hecho con nosotros.
So that together we can all enter into God's presence and give Him thanks.
Dios y Padre nuestro, te damos gracias por todo lo que tú has hecho en nuestras vidas, pero en ASJ a lo largo de todos estos años.
Lord, we come to you into your presence today to give you thanks for all that you have done in bringing about this building, but also for bringing about the work and mission of ASJ in Honduras over all these years.
Gracias por el privilegio que nos has dado también de servirte a ti a través de todo lo que hemos podido hacer, pero también por lo que vamos a hacer en nuestro país.
Thank you for the privilege of allowing us to serve in this country, to serve you, and also for the privilege of what we know that we will be doing in the future through this work.
Honestamente no merecemos, Dios, todo lo que tú nos das, todo lo que tú nos muestras en momentos difíciles, en momentos complejos, nos muestras tu amor.
Lord, we know that we are not deserving of all of this grace and of the way that you show up over and over and show us your love.
Gracias por nuestros hermanos, gracias por nuestros socios, gracias por nuestros amigos que a lo largo de los años, con fidelidad, hemos podido caminar juntos anhelando tener una sociedad más justa.
Thank you, Lord, for our brothers and sisters here today, for our partners, for our friends who have walked alongside of this work for so many years now.
Y Dios, en esta tarde queremos hacer un compromiso.
And today, Lord, we want to make a commitment,
Un compromiso colectivo, un
a
compromiso
collective
individual.
commitment and an individual commitment
Dedicar nuestras vidas
to dedicate our lives
al servicio de otros.
to the service of others,
Dedicar nuestras vidas, nuestro talento, todo lo que tú nos das para poder ser de bendición a otros.
to dedicate our lives and our talents and everything that you have given us for others.
Y gracias por este espacio que
And
tú
thank
nos
you for this
regalas.
space, Lord, that you have given us.
Gracias porque aquí vamos a poder seguir soñando,
Because we know, Lord, that here we are going to be able to continue dreaming
como lo hemos hecho en el pasado.
as we have done in the past.
Recordábamos nuestros sueños en nuestras ventanas con Alan y con Joan, soñando y pensando, planeando, Señor, hacer cosas para beneficio de Honduras.
Remembering all the times, Lord, that you were with us as Kurt and Joanne and I stood by the window between our two houses and dreamed big dreams. And those dreams, because of you, many have become a reality.
Bueno, con alegría en nuestros corazones, con mucha emoción, Señor, recibimos esto que tú nos das para seguir trabajando por Honduras.
And with so much joy and emotion in our hearts, we receive this gift from you today, Lord.
Y bueno, estamos emocionados, estamos contentos y gracias, Señor. Gracias, gracias por lo que tú nos has dado, gracias por la protección, gracias por todo, Señor.
And we are just so excited and so pleased with what has come about here, Lord, and we give you all the thanks. All the thanks, Lord, goes to you.
Te alabamos y te bendecimos en
We
el nombre de
praise you
Jesús.
and we bless you in Jesus' name. Amen. Hello, everyone. For all of you who watch the building updates, they always made me start, and that's how I started. This time, we thought it'd be fun to do one last building update, and this one's going to be kind of a review of everything that happened over 5 years to make this building possible. Guess I'm supposed to sit down. And we get to do it without hard hats on, so that's kind of exciting because if you notice, mine was almost always covering my eyes.
I gotta do a selfie.
Oh, okay.
We gotta do a selfie.
Of course he does.
1, 2, 3. Okay, everybody do a thumbs up. 1, 2, 3.
It really is so odd. I wish you guys could all be up here to see all of you out there. It is pretty amazing to see everyone here together. ¿Hondureños le están traduciendo? Okay,
Yes.
excelente. I'm getting thumbs up all over. Yeah, so we're just going to take a little bit of time and take you through the journey that we went through to get here today where we are all celebrating.
And I remember where it all started. It was almost 5 years ago, exactly today, that our U.S. board was in Honduras, meeting with the Honduran board, and we saw a challenge in the future. We didn't fit in our current office. And we ended up, Pete Harkema called a side meeting with Kurt and Carlos and Joanne and I, and we met in Carlos's office and said, we think you might need a new building. What do you think about that? And Carlos and Kurt were not so excited at all. So maybe Kurt, talk to us about why you maybe weren't so excited about this idea, and what brought you to the decision to now.
So they're putting up pictures of our old building. Somebody just asked me at lunchtime if they were going to do that. So that's the front of our old building. And our biggest conference room is that second picture. And you could see about how big that is. So some of you have never been there. And Carlos and I, so it was sort of Pete's idea, and Carlos and I were not really on board at first. We are not, I don't think we're building people, right? We didn't think right away we needed a building. And a lot of it was we thought it would be just a big distraction, right? For years of picking out what color carpet and what kind of toilets and what color paint. And I did not want to do that, especially the toilets. I really did imagine exactly that, right? Like we would have to go to the hardware store and pick out what kind of faucets we would want and all of that. And I was like, and we're dedicated to programs and to people and to making changes in Honduras. But in the end, I think as we thought about it more, we saw our buildings were becoming a problem. They were hampering our programs. And so we had staff in 5 different buildings. And I remember several times people coming into our office when we would have to move another team out of the main office into another one, and people were crying because they knew that being in another house across the street, down the street, they weren't going to meet with us as much. We weren't going to know what was going on. They weren't going to know what was going on. That wasn't good. It wasn't good for security. We had 14 parking spaces. Imagine all of these people here. We had visitors towed. We had the police come and ticket people because they were parking illegally trying to get to one of our meetings. So in the end, we decided we had to build a building.
Yeah, so we made the decision, and one of the first things that we all agreed on was that this building project was going to be a joint project between the 2 organizations, between AJS US and ASJ Honduras. And that's been a beautiful thing, seeing how that partnership worked and how people work together.
And it could have been really messy.
Yeah.
Right?
We also predicted it might be messy, but it was not messy at all. It was really cool. And there were lots of issues that came up that needed to be worked out about, who was going to be in charge of what and who was going to actually own the title of the building, et cetera, et cetera.
Who was going to own the building?
Who was going to own the building. But I think it's a testament to the amazing people, both here in Honduras and in the U.S., who believe in this organization and what the mission of the organization is, that none of that stuff got in the way. It didn't get in the way of mission, and it didn't get in the way of building this building. It was a really cool thing to see.
And I think it goes to show, like, the boards of this organization, we just had really good leaders at the time. And I want to talk about 2 leaders that have truly impacted my life and taught me a lot about leadership. When we started this campaign, Rick Banstra was our volunteer executive director. He was already volunteering for running the organization, and then we said, how about we triple your time and triple your salary at 0? And he did it willingly. And there were some hard times and some deep discussions. And this project needed a lot of wisdom. And that is truly one of Rick's gifts. His wisdom in strategizing and thinking through the hard and the difficult and the good decisions was such a blessing to all of us. And the second person is Pete Harkema. Pete was the president of the board. He called that first meeting. He had the vision right from the get-go. And he also had the giftedness to do a campaign. None of us knew, how do you run a capital campaign? And yet that was his career. And so he stepped up not only as board president, but as volunteer director of the campaign, volunteering all of his time, his giftedness to making this vision possible. Two just absolutely amazing leaders.
And I think they're going to put up a picture here. And this is September 2014. So you can see that we weren't lying when we say we've been doing this for over 5 years. And that was the first exploratory trip. So Pete Harkema, Peter Baldwin, right here, my brother-in-law Dennis, and his brother Todd, Evan, who was a fellow with us, and Jose Luis. And it really was, yeah, we've already told you, Peter was decided to do this before the rest of us were, and right away jumped on it. So I think we made that decision in June or July. In September, they're already back here, and we spent 3 or 4 days. My brother-in-law and his brother are construction guys from Chicago. So we went around looking at sites and projects, and we talked about cost, and is it more or less than the States, and how do they build here? How does it compare to the U.S.? And one of the first people we met was Jose Luis. Where's Jose Luis? And Jose Luis, we are on the top of his building. And if you drive around Tegus, ask people to show you Metropolis, the twin tower of offices. How many stories, Jose Luis? 16? Huh? 28-story, two 28-story buildings. He basically spent the whole day with us. We didn't know him, never met him before. He spent the whole day showing us around this building, his other buildings, introducing us to engineers, architects that he knew. And that's where our friendship with Jose Luis, and we could not have done this building without him. Like, we knew next to nothing about construction, certainly about construction in Honduras. Jose Luis ended up inviting Mario Irias. Is Mario here, Jose Luis? Hasn't come yet. So the two of them came here every Tuesday for 4 years. Not here, to our office. And we would make all the decisions. I didn't pick out toilets or carpet. Like Jose Luis and team of people he brought around us, lots of them volunteers, helped us make all of those decisions. And we're so grateful to Pete and to Jose Luis and this friendship, Peter Baldwin as well, that started right there.
And out of this meeting, this exploratory trip, there were all kinds of great ideas and dreams, as Kurt mentioned. And as he also mentioned, none of us had any idea what we were doing. So.
And so, yeah, I was jumping ahead of myself a little bit. But here's Peter Baldwin, Sergio Ortega, and Keith Wynn. So, again, we didn't know what we were doing. We never built a building. I hope I never build a building again. But we needed to do it well and to do it right. So Peter Baldwin was involved, an architect from Grand Rapids. From the very beginning, this is all of us up in Grand Rapids visiting. So Jose Luis, and then in the end, Sergio became our Honduran architect. Peter was our Grand Rapids architect. Sergio did all the hard work, the carpentry, and Peter gave ideas. But also Keith Wynn came, I don't remember if it was Peter who pulled in Keith, but where's Keith? Peter did, right? And Keith came along and said, how can you make, the thing I most remember is this book, this document that Keith helped us draft about what were our dreams for this building, what did we want to get out of this building, how to make it environmentally sustainable. As you can see, all of these people came down multiple times as volunteers. So we had this beautiful team of Honduran volunteers, U.S. volunteers, professionals who knew what they were doing, who came alongside this project. And it really wasn't a distraction for Carlos and I, and it wasn't a distraction because of all these great people we had around us.
One of the fun things that happened from the beginning is that Peter Baldwin came down, and he really wanted this space to be one that met the needs of our staff. And all of our staff are Honduran. Kurt and I are basically the only North Americans permanently with ASJ Honduras. And Peter Baldwin doesn't speak any Spanish.
Yes, he does.
Sort of.
So he does. Sorry, Peter. Peter does. You ask him. He speaks some Spanish. But it was amazing the number of conversations that happened between Peter and the staff with no translation. And the staff loved hanging out with Peter, dreaming together with him, and trying to create a space that was going to help them do their work. I don't know, where is Peter?
Wait, good.
There he is, back there. Yeah.
And I think, for us, not being building people, this was all about mission. And I think one of the best things that Peter and Keith made us do, especially Keith, he actually ended up writing it for us, was he captured all of the dreams for the mission. What did we really want? And we have this 10-page document of all of our dreams. What are our owner project requirements? And it's all about mission. We wanted this place to be safe and secure and also welcoming. How do you do that? I've been telling people we wanted a hospitable fortress. We don't know how to do that, but we're glad we've met people who did. We also needed it to be flexible. We wanted it to be environmentally sustainable. We wanted to have beautiful views. We wanted it to be close to public transportation so that everybody could access it. We wanted it to be culturally appropriate. We wanted it to dignify the ordinary. And when you look around,
We nailed it.
I think we
We
did all
nailed it.
right. But it was going back to that document. What is it that we want? And it was all about that mission of the organization.
So we'd done a lot of dreaming, and then we thought there was going to be a piece of this task that wasn't going to be all that difficult, and that was just to find a piece of land to build it on.
Piece of cake. So I was tasked with the easy task. I'm not sure why they gave me the easy task. With Carlos Gomez. Is Carlos Gomez here right now? Oh, he's way in the back. So Carlos Gomez and I were instructed to find a piece of land that met certain requirements. And we started to do that. He and I would get in the car. Somebody told us about a piece of land on this end of Tegucigalpa and that end of Tegucigalpa.
20 real estate agents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had all kinds of real estate agents very excited to find us a piece of land. And all of them had problems. And almost all of them had problems with their property title. It was messy. There wasn't a clear owner, which we should have guessed. We had our own land project. We worked with the Property Institute. But I don't know, somehow we thought we were going to be the exception. And it got to the point when somebody called about this piece of land right here and said, we think this might be the perfect piece. It has the incline you want, so you can tuck the parking underneath, has the beautiful views you're looking for. It's on a bus route. It's accessible from lots of points in the city. And I remember, I don't know if Carlos Gomez remembers this, but I remember saying to him, I don't know, do we even want to go look? Nothing. It's not going to be a good title. We're not going to get it. We'll get excited for nothing. And in the end, it was a clean title. Piece of land owned by two older sisters who lived nearby and were very eager to sell. That doesn't mean it happened quickly. But it happened. And so we started negotiating the land and trying to figure out, jump through all the hoops we needed to make this land ours. And we want to show you a little video clip that we just happened to catch the reaction of Pete Harkema when we found out this land was actually going to be the place where we were going to build our new building. It's fast.
I don't know if I do. That was so Pete. His passion for this project was the heartbeat. We sent this video to Jill ahead of time, his wife, and this is what she had to say about it. He loved AJS so much, and he wanted so much and wanted so deeply to be able to support the people he loved doing the remarkable work in Honduras. He wasn't raising money because this was for money for him. He wasn't being paid to do so. He was raising money for this cause because he cared so deeply about it. And Pete's response to this good news was 100% authentic, which again was just so Pete. When Pete found out that he had cancer, most people would probably withdraw from these types of roles. But that also wasn't Pete. Pete was somebody who leaned in. He wanted to use all of his gifts until the end to serve his Lord. And that's what he did.
And Pete was definitely the motor who got this project going forward, his optimism and also his experience. And I remember one of the things that he said at the beginning that I was like, that can't be true, is he said, the biggest donation for this project is going to come from somebody we don't even know yet. And I was like, no.
Yeah, but he was right, because he usually was. And we knew that when we started this campaign, we were going to have to really stretch ourselves. When we started this campaign, we were raising about $500,000 a year, and we didn't think that we had the capacity to raise the money necessary for this. So we were going to have to expand, invite new friends, new people into our community. And I want to give you just one example of that because it happens over and over and over again. But Mark Veenstra, our board member, there we go.
He doesn't have to raise his hand.
No, he can. You can all just see his head sticking up above everyone else's. But we really leaned on our board to invite friends. So Mark said, well, I have this friend. Why don't you come down to Chicago and meet Marty Ozinga with me? I didn't know who Marty was, but I said, sure, I'm always up for a trip to Chicago. So we hopped in Mark's truck, and him and Pete and I went down to Chicago to meet with Marty for the first time. He hadn't really heard about AJS before. And I remember sitting in his office and kind of sharing a little bit about the work of AJS and the campaign. And after about 40 minutes maybe, we said, so are you interested in hearing more? Can we send you some more information? And he said, kind of leaned back and said, well, how about I just give you a donation right now? And I just about fell out of my chair, honestly. Mark said, I thought I was really going to have to catch you. And that gift came out of a friendship, out of a trust in a friend. And this room is in honor of that friendship. So that side of the room is peace, this side of the room is justice, and each side of the room, they've played a role to honor that friendship. Because that's what made that possible, and that's what made a lot of this possible. And we're so grateful for so many people who participated in this campaign well beyond our expectations. I'm so thankful for all the coffee I got to drink with all of you throughout the whole time. Very good coffee. Having events together, celebrating. It was just very special. Because it was inviting people into this campaign, but it was inviting people into this story of AJS. And it was fun to see people get excited, and it energized us, and it was such a blessing.
And hundreds of people donated. And a good chunk of those people were first-time donors to AJS was when they gave to the building. And that also inspired me because I'm not a building person. And it just shows how God works to pull people in different ways. So some people were giving for years to programs and gave to the building as well. And some people, the first time they heard about us was this building project and gave to that. And we now hope they'll continue to give to make these programs possible.
In the end, many of you are probably curious, what are the numbers? In the end, we raised over $4 million for this building. We started with a $500,000 budget, annual budget, and we raised 8 times that for this building. Just incredible generosity. So thank you so much.
So we did raise over $4 million for the building, but we didn't raise $4 million before we started building the building. But the responsible people on our board said, you have to hit a threshold of donations before you can start. You can't start a building and then say, oops, sorry, we're going to give whatever money we have left back to you because we didn't raise it. So we had this threshold that we had to meet before we could break ground. But here in Honduras, in the construction committee, every time we were meeting together, because we were designing and dreaming, as we said, the guys who knew about construction were saying, you guys better get on this. Rainy season is going to come, and you can't do anything. You do not want to have a big hole in the ground that's going to turn into mud. You got to get the building going while it's dry season. And we were like, yeah, but we don't have the money yet. And this is where our AJS board members in the U.S. Just responded in an amazing way and reached into their bank accounts and gave money that we did not anticipate them giving so that we could meet this threshold and start the building and make the big hole in the ground that was going to turn into our building. So we are so grateful for them, to their commitment to the organization and to their faith in this project that they were willing to plant that seed so that we could get started.
I don't know how I got stuck with both of the emotional pieces here. Thank you, guys.
You assigned the parts, Jill.
I know. But it was right around that time, that was a pretty hard season for AJS as well, and especially our board and our leadership. Pete Harkema passed away a couple weeks before we started excavation, and 2 weeks later, another one of our board members, Mark Wagenveld, also passed away. So we lost 2 board members in the course of a month. And if you know our board at all, like, we're a family. Like, in our board meeting agendas, you can see AJS family time. And so it was a very hard season. Mark Wagenveld was also a huge part of this campaign. He was on our capital campaign committee, incredibly committed. He read, reviewed, edited, wrote most of the materials that you guys read about this campaign. He was passionate and committed and willing to use his gifts as a journalist. So he was the editor of the Philadelphia Inquirer and used his gifts, again, to glorify God and to make sure this building and this mission was sustained long term. So this week is a celebration, but for many of us, it's a pretty hard week as well because we're missing our friends. Yeah.
Okay.
And even in those hard times, we knew that both Mark and Pete would not have wanted us to drop the ball and to keep this project going. So we started digging. And one of the first things we ended up finding out was that this site used to be kind of a garbage dump for all the neighbors. Surprise. We found a chassis to a car buried in this site and a bunch of other junk. We had to go 2 whole meters down before we get to firm ground to get to where we could start the construction. 2 meters, Yeah, further down. So I'm sitting in a meeting where, I don't remember, I think it was Juan Carlos was telling us this. It was going to end up being $400,000 more to backfill this whole area that they were having to dig out.
I very clearly remember that meeting because it was my first construction committee meeting, and I was sort of the numbers budget person for this. And that was like our entire contingency budget in the first 3 weeks of this entire project. And I immediately started to cry. I was like, this cannot be happening. I do not want to go back to donors and raise more money. But I remember that moment because Kurt just sat back in his chair. He did his arm cross thing, and he just said, nope.
And that was not the last time that Kurt said nope. Every time something would happen and it was going to be an overrun of cost, he would say nope, and they would dig back into the budget and figure out another way to do it. For the problem of the extra 2 meters down, someone said, well, if you don't want to backfill it all, we could just add an extra level of parking. And we were like, score, let's have the extra level of parking instead. Ended up being cheaper. And that happened over and over again where we had to be creative, think out of the box in order to get this project done and to get it done without going over budget.
So I need to say a few more things about Kurt and Joanne because you're never going to hear them say it about themselves. Their leadership was instrumental, not only in making this organization possible, but making this building possible. And they used their incredibly strategic minds mixed with their just compassionate hearts. And they were involved in just about every single aspect. So you're going to see their fingerprints over this whole building. They helped raise, yeah, literally, except the toilets. No, but they helped raise the money. They attended all the events. They went to all the construction committee meetings. They came here, reviewed things, and they weren't construction experts. I'd say they're pretty close now, at least here in Honduras. They even built their own house now because they were so inspired. But it was their leadership that really helped to make it possible. And I think the most important thing that they added to this is something that they also add to ASJ. They have the ability to keep mission at the center of everything. Like they just have this tunnel vision for priorities. What do we got to do? Let's cut out all the distractions. And that happened with this building too, when there could have been a ton of distractions. What curtains, what windows, but no, like we want views, right? We want this to be a hospitable place. They kept those missional priorities at the center, just as they do for the organization. And they did it because for them, this isn't a job. It literally isn't a job. They don't get paid for it. And they didn't get paid for it. It's because they love Honduras. And they love this work of justice. And it's that drumbeat of justice that just keeps them going. So thank you, Kurt and Joanne, for being on.
And we want to thank Jill, right? And I think most of you have known Jill as the face of this whole project. It's Jill has gone to your house and drank coffee with you. It's Jill who's gone to your church. It's Jill that's driven. Just the other day, it was like she drove 6 hours each way to visit a donor. I don't know how she did it all, right? And not only that, she was supervising much of this work from the U.S. by Skype and FaceTime, trying to understand legal terms and construction terms and financial terms in Spanish. So she gets an A now in all of the technical Spanish language. and I think like a young woman who took on way more than most of us would have wanted her to, would have expected her to, and has just done it with grace and compassion and passion and patience, and has pulled it all together. So.
And there are more people that helped us make this place the home that it has become so fast. And some of the Honduran staff have said, I feel like I've been in this building a long time already, and that's exactly what we wanted to happen. And I know that if we let Jill turn on her mic right now, she would want to recognize the rest of the U.S. staff that did so much work as well. Allison, you guys have been amused by her all week. I will tell you that she has much more going on than just a great sense of humor. She is organized and passionate and has worked so hard just to keep everything going and straight, done her plenty of her share of traveling, visiting, sharing the vision of the work here in Honduras, and we are so grateful. And the rest of the staff too. Maybe just everybody stand up a sec from the AJS US office and let us give you a hand. The fact that so few people are standing should be pretty amazing to all of you when you see what those guys get done, right? So thanks to all of you. There are also people we want to recognize that worked so hard here in Honduras. Sergio Ortega, where are you, Sergio? There he is. Sergio was our chief architect. He's the one that tried to put all our many, many dreams and ideas down on paper into a workable building, and we are so grateful to you, Sergio, for that.
Only 40 or 50 versions.
Exactly. He has the gift of patience. Thanks, Sergio. I'm not sure if Juan Carlos is here. Yep. Juan Carlos, stand up a sec. Juan Carlos is our head contractor. And we did a bidding process, because you have to legally in Honduras. And Jill and I were secretly hoping that Juan Carlos would win because he is so nice.
And he won.
He also had the lowest bid, so we loved him for that. He has done a remarkable job, kept his cool even when things weren't going the way they should, and supervised a huge crew of people who put this building together. So thanks to you and your crew, Juan Carlos. Alejandra Mejia, are you here somewhere? Oh, way in the back. For all of you who have been, first I have to tell you what she did. For all of you who have been oohing and eyeing over the decorative touches, the cool colored clouds, she calls them, and the iron work at the top, the metal work, and anything.
Out the toilets.
Everything cool you see in this building, that was Alejandra. She still is, because we're not quite done, our interior designer, and she is the reason that Kurt decided doing a building is not that much work, because she did all of that piece. So we are super grateful, Alejandra. You are amazing. And then we want to thank, I already gave a shout out to my land choosing buddy, Carlos Gomez, but Carlos Gomez, who many of you know, and Karen Mendoza Where's Karen Mendoza? There she is also in the very back. Karen and Carlos were in charge of basically being the bridge between our office over there and our office over here. They supervised what was happening. Karen was on top of everything to do with budgets. She had such a hard job. Karen, we love you. You did an amazing job. Carlos was making sure all the security features were going in, supervising people. Those guys, I think, probably spent more time at this building site than they did at the other office or with their families for the past year. So we are so grateful to you. Thank you. So, anybody who has not been mentioned, because there are so many more of you, or if you were involved in this building project and we did not say your name yet, will you please stand up so we can give you a round of applause?
Technisa.
Yeah,
Nico,
other
Claudia,
contractors.
are you here? Abel. Nico.
Electrical.
Yes.
Claudia.
There they are. There they are.
Ahí está.
Making a building like this is so much more complicated than I ever knew, and you need experts in all the areas, and those were those people. So we are just so grateful. Thank you.
And as you walk around the building, you're going to also see how staff, how we made it home. You know, we're still putting some of those final touches on it. It takes a little while when you move into a new home to make it home, but you're going to start to see that. The Dionisio mural out in the hallway. So that's a cool story. One of the most important things to our staff was we need to keep honoring Dionisio, who was a lawyer for AJS, who was killed because of his work, because of his dedication in 2006. And in our old building, we had this beautiful mural. And we wanted to figure out how can we bring that mural here, and it just wasn't possible. But we were able to track down the same artists who did that one 10 years ago, and they did a very similar style for us here. So just a beautiful thing that they did for us. All of the room names, as you walk through the meeting rooms, are named after values we share. Those were names that our staff picked out. And then we partnered with our donors to figure out what names we should have in each room. And just a beautiful testament to the partnership and the values that we have, the things that we want to be reminded of every day as we walk through this space. So thank you. And I mean, have you seen all the plants? Right? Thanks to Allison for coming up with that great idea, because we wanted this space to be beautiful with lots of plants, lots of greenery. And you'll see that as you walk through this whole space.
Building was going great. All the money was raised. Building was 3/4 done. And then we got some bad news middle of last year. The Trump administration was cutting all aid to Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. That meant over half of our budget was going to be cut in basically one day. It was a very hard time, very frustrating time, and it still is, yeah. But we were worried it was going to impact the building. In the end, it didn't, but it did impact all of what we had been planning on doing this year and how it was going to look, going to the rainbow image already, huh?
Jill took that picture.
And you guys showed up for us in incredible ways. So we announced this to our AJS community this past fall. We changed a lot of our plans because of this. You kind of have to pivot when something like this happens, right? And you did, and we announced it, and it has just been incredible. Absolutely incredible the way that our community has shown up for us financially, and within those finances, words of encouragement, prayers, support. I mean, above and beyond. In the last 4 months, we've raised $1 million more than we thought we would. Like, let me put that into context, because I still am a numbers person. Last year, our budget was $800,000. We will raise more than $2 million this year. This building was about mission. And we will now be able to help fill a gap of programs, of staff, of mission here in Honduras because of your support. So, I mean, I just can't say thank you enough, right? That makes this time, seeing all of you, celebrating this space, but like, you are here with us sustaining our mission. So thank you.
And 6 months ago, it was just all bad news, right? We didn't know what we were going to do, and we started creating scenarios. We had A scenario through G scenario. And A was our worst case. Like, if we don't get any more money, this is how much money we're going to lose. This is how many staff we're going to have to lay off. And G was our most optimistic one. None of them looked great. But we started a process that was also helpful. Because when you have to cut, when you have to figure things, you say, well, what's really important? What if we're only going to have this many staff and this much budget, what would we do? What if we had to cut all of this other stuff? What's core? What's essential? So we also feel like God has been in that. Like God used evil for good, right? To help us be strategic and think this thing through. And so we had our A through our G scenario.
That's 8, just so you know. I'm a numbers person.
And we have blown past G. We now have more money than our most optimistic vision 6 months ago because of you guys, because of your generosity, because you stepped up, because those decisions made you frustrated too, and you said, we want to be a part of keeping this all going. And so we're back to dreaming again. We're back to thinking, now we can add some new staff. What do we want them to do? And that's amazing. And thank you.
So that was our journey over the last 5 years. And as Kurt said, we learned a lot through this process. We did. That wasn't really supposed to be funny, but it is. There it is.
I thought you didn't really think we learned anything.
I know, that's what I did. It's like, really? Clearly, we did not pick out the photos that go along with our talk here. But we learned that we are still not really building people, but this building is going to help us carry out our mission. This building still isn't about the bricks and the mortar. It's about the people in it and what it's going to allow us to do, and we're excited about that. I think we have a new vision after going through some of the things we've gone through, and everybody is still excited about that. Also, I think one of the byproducts of this journey was that many relationships were deepened. Relationships between our Honduran board and our U.S. board, our Honduran staff and our U.S. staff, our relationships with all of you, and having you here in this space right now is it's just amazing. It feels like the culmination of everything. And I think we learned that God provides. There were moments when it didn't feel like that was true, but here we all are in this building, and we blew through all our scenarios and have money to still carry out the mission. And that is just such clear signs of God's faithfulness to us. So we are so thankful to God. We are also so thankful for you all, for your support, and also for the fact that you are willing to travel here and celebrate with us. So we're going to keep celebrating for the next 2 days. So I hope you're up for that. Put your dancing shoes on, because this is an exciting moment, and we're glad you're here with us. Thank you.
And that brings us to today. When we were dreaming about what do we want to do for an inauguration, Allison came up with a great idea. Let's have a 7-day conference. Let's not just do a 1-hour dedication. Let's invite everybody. Maybe like 50 people will come. 170 of you. 170 of you flew down here for the week. And we did that because, again, this is about mission, right? And we thought this time together needed to be reflective of that mission. We want to support Honduras. We want to celebrate with Honduras this great moment. But we also want to learn together, be inspired to do justice in our own communities. So a conference felt fitting. It felt reflective of our mission. And we hope that this time is a time of celebration, a time of joy, and a time of learning together from you, with you. And so thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for celebrating with us. Thank you for, at moments, crying with us. But that's what it's like to be on a journey together and to be family. You cry together, you celebrate together, you learn together, and that's what you are to us. You're our family. So thank you for being here.
There are so many of you in the room who